What's up, YouTube? Decided since November just started and all that I should be prepping for my ice season and stuff. And I was thinking maybe since some of you who watch the channel or just started to or whatever, like either know about it or don't know much about it or don't know what to do while ice fishing. I'm gonna decide today to show you some of my go-to gear, as well as like I don't know, give you some like helpful starting tips if you're trying to figure out how to start ice fishing and stuff. Um, so without further ado, like I'm gonna show you some of the basic stuff that I have on my table right now, and go through some of the other stuff after that. So for starters, for ice fishing, I would always say safety's first. So one of the things that I like use for like my boots and stuff for cleats, because the ice is gonna be slippery, the ice is gonna be rough, and the ice, by may add, is a fickle thing, because recommended safe ice is like 4 inches, but there's no such thing as safe ice in my opinion. I've fallen through 3 times. If you watched my ice safety video, you would be well aware of that, and like how I'm focused on having nice safety and stuff. But that being said, for boots and stuff, you gotta like have good traction on the ice, as well as staying on there. So what I use Due North Ice Fisherman cleats. These are basically stuff that you just strap on your boots and you're basically ready to go right there. It's that easy, You just like put them on, boom, go on that ice, chomp chomp chomp, you're good. What I do recommend though is that for the little spikes on these, I do recommend like in like a little container that has like a lot of spares, because these things kind of fall out like regularly if you're not like proper with them or not taking notice. I've had to go through a lot of these before, and it sucks, but I mean, I like them. They're just simple, they're easy to put on, and if you're just like ready to get on the ice fast, this is the way to do it. Another thing in regards to safety is rope. I've had this for a year now. I had to use it actually, not for save someone from the ice, but for a whole different stupid reason that I don't want to even get into. But basically what it's for is just that if you or if someone else falls through the ice, like this will be tossed out to you, have someone hold on to one end, then have someone hold on the other, hold them out. Because if someone falls through the ice, your first instinct is like, okay, help. But it's like, don't go right next to that person that fell through, because more than likely, you're going to fall through as well. Because that thin ice can crack all around you, and that can just open up more and just make things a lot worse. And you do not want that to happen. Hypothermia is a way to go, and it is not good. So always have this at the hand and be ready. So just have it tossed out. Boom, you're saving someone's life, or someone could be saving your life with this. And for some like little miscellaneous stuff that I use, like I use a little counter right here to see how much fish I catch in a day. Little nifty tool. I found it at Bass Pro, so you get one of those there. But and then little measuring tape, just measure your size of your fish, or if you're going to measure up the hole, because like I said, testing out the ice is probably the best way to find safe ice, or safe-ish ice, I should say. And it's always best to like drill the hole or chisel it out and then drop like a measuring tape down. You can like find like a cheaper one, or ones that like stay together longer. Like an actual like, construction measuring tape or something like that. I got this for free at a fishing show, so like you get stuff like that. Don't just throw it away or give it to someone. If you can like use it for something like this, probably helps. Another thing is this little guy, this little weight right here. I use this like ever since I started ice fishing, and continue to still use it on occasion. Basically, what this does is like it's a depth finder of sorts. You just like attach your line, drop it down the hole, gets to the bottom, boom, and you just like pull up the line and you just like know how deep you're in, basically. And with that, I also like the fact that if you're like to pull it up and you see weeds on there, awesome, you're on top of a weed bed. So it's like a bonus. And, with some fish finders and stuff, sometimes it's hard for them to mark the depth because of those weeds. So having one of these at the ready could also help in that regard. Another thing that I recommend are these. These are toothpicks. And I got mine from a buddy as well as a Cold Snap. These things are very versatile when it comes to getting your jig out of a fish. Like, there's so many times that I had to kill a fish that had a lure or a jig stuck in its mouth that I couldn't get out. And with these, it makes it so much more easier, especially if they like swallow them. Whew, these are godsend. I have several of these, and if I have a friend that doesn't have them, I will give one to them because it's that good. And I really recommend them for anyone, for any type of fishing, not even just ice fishing, just fishing in general to have. And this is a auger blade sharpener. All you gotta do is just like put it on like brass knuckles of sorts, then go up your auger carefully, might I add, and then just like slide on the blade. What this does is sharpens your auger blades and makes you have less of a worry for your blades to dull out or to have any kind of issue with them, because these, like, I would say it will save you so much money in the future if you have proper auger maintenance, because even during the off season you gotta like sharpen them up now and then because stuff is gonna rust, and you want to take proper care of your ice fishing equipment, especially your auger. That's gonna be a big thing, you want to take care of. And what I've been showing so far, like, they're more so on the cheap side, although the rope is a little more expensive. I think I had to spend like $15 or something for it, but it was worth it. Ice fishing, it could be cheap, it could be expensive. Just depends on how much you want to spend. Like for this little guy right here, for example, I got this at the Tinley Park Fishing Show, and I don't even know what it's called, but I really like it just because it's like a little tool you could like bash a fish's head in. So if you want to, know you're gonna keep it, and if you want it to stop flopping around, boom, there you go. And what's neat about it is that it has a little slit right here to cut fishing line, and you just like pop your line down, goes right through. Pretty neat little tool. I got this for like a few bucks. Like fishing flea markets or fishing shows, there's always like good deals on gear and stuff that, it's always good to check out on. And speaking of pricing, there's these right here, skimmers. And what these are is they just skim like the ice out of your hole, basically. That's all they pretty much do, But also, they oh, there's a plane overhead. What they also do is that they can also measure the ice. With this one, this one goes up to 18 inches, I believe. And all you have to do is just like have your hole drilled, put this guy under, lift it up, and measure up like how many inches are on there. I'd say these are like definitely like a must. And like I said, when it comes to the pricing, this guy's probably gonna be a few bucks. Probably gonna be a few bucks more. Like, you gotta choose your poison here, like how much you're willing to spend. Because with ice fishing, I feel like you're gonna have a hand auger, ice rod, a few jigs, and a skimmer and stuff. Probably be, I don't know, like a $75 purchase at best, But like add-ons like these, for example, tip-ups, it's gonna cost a little more. There's like two basic varieties of tip-ups, and these are basically the big ones. You see like either the rectangular ones or the circular ones. My personal preference is more of the circular ones, which is why this guy is a little more rusted to hell. The more rectangular ones, they just pretty much go like this. Have them set up in your hole, with this guy underneath this, and boom, you have it set up. And then once a fish like takes your line, the flag goes up, and you might have a fish on. The downside with the rectangular ones, though, in my opinion, is that is when you're fishing on a very, very cold day, your holes are probably going to freeze up a bit. And with these are going to have a harder time for you because of the fact that, they're rectangular. They're not going to cover the entire hole, which means your hole's going to start freezing up and your line might be frozen. You might lose a fish that way. You might lose your line that way. So I'm not a big fan of these. So I'm more a big fan of the circular ones, because that way you have insulation on the bottom, and they're more like, I don't know, simpler in my opinion. All you gotta do is just lift, boom, push down. Same method, but like I said, but like I said, I like it more though because it has like a little storage compartment for your bobbers, lures, whatever you want to keep in there. And for the pricing for these, it all varies. I think I had to pay like $20 for this one, and like for tip ups, they have like a very cheap range. So again, choose your poison when it comes to gear. But I go. I'm an experienced ice fisherman. I like to go out a lot. So, I want to dress warm. I want to do a lot of that stuff. So, one of the big things you need to have for ice fishing are good boots. Like, when you're ice fishing out there, your feet can get cold so fast because you're standing on ice. That's gonna like be really cold on your feet unless you're like on top of some kind of insulation, but more than likely you're probably not. So you need to have a good pair of boots that will keep you warm. And what I use, and it's like I got these for like $75, are Iceman boots. These things will keep you warm. They're from Lacrosse. I like them a lot. Like they have like wool insides on them, and oh my god, I've used them for like 4 years now, and these babies still hold up well and everything, and I love them to death. Like my feet have never felt cold once, and I also wear wool socks, but add that with these, it really helps. There's like pretty much like 2 layers to help you out, and honestly, you can't go wrong with good boots. And if you want to look for a good pair, these are it. But going off of clothing, I also want to talk about like how the ice fishing industry is more branded now. Like I want to say after the 2000s, that's when ice fishing got to have more of a name in the brands and stuff. When like I would say like early 90s and stuff, like it was just starting to bloom, and then before that it was like pretty much nothing. So nowadays you got like a lot of like shacks, clothing, lures even, and a lot of other stuff that have name brand on them. And it's like, people ask like, oh, what should I go for? Should I go for Clam? Should I go for Frabill? Should I go for whatever else there is? There's like so much branding in ice fishing nowadays, and it's like people have like their little war preference to whichever side they're on. But it all comes down to your own personal preference. Like in my opinion, from my experience, I've had bad issues with clam shacks and clothing, so I kind of went more towards the Frabill route. This is a Frabill jacket. What I like about these is that Frabill will keep you afloat, as well as like a lot of other brands. But when it comes to ice fishing, and if you're scared of falling through, always get like a float suit. Like you have a bib and you have a jacket. Fall through, you're still up on that water, and that will be your godsend. Because if you're a fall through, God forbid, those suits will keep you warm. They'll keep you afloat, and more than likely they'll have one of these on there. These are ice picks, and basically what they're there for is just to jab at the ice. They have like little picks right here, and you just jab down, pull yourself out, and boom, you're good. These things will save your life, if anything. Like, even if you don't get a jacket that has these on there, get them anyway. Get ice picks. Like, you can see them for like $10 probably, or at some places. And they're like highly recommended. Like especially early and late ice. Like even during all year. Just have them all year. Like don't even have that preference towards early and late. Like Because if you have these on you and if you fall through, chances are you'll at least save your life by grabbing yourself out. But like I said, I've like wear different types of clothing on the ice. Like not even just like this Fravel suit, but I also wear Arctic armor. I also wear like a camo suit. Like there's like a ton of variety to choose from. Like you could wear a regular jacket from like a thrift store for all I care, and you'll still be warm. You know, it just all comes down to your personal preference at the end of the day. But what I do prefer though is just at least have these. You know, because whether or not your jacket does have them or not, you know, buy a set anyway. So that's my 2 cents there on that. And especially when it comes to buying stuff, I would also say that buy like storage. I use a backpack. You know, because you can have boxes of lures and stuff to carry, or your sled, or your shack for that matter. But you know, when it comes to certain points of winter, especially when it's snowing, carrying around a lot of heavy gear on a sled or a shack, it's gonna add up. Like it's gonna be a huge workout for you if you're gonna be carrying all your gear on one thing. But if you at least like carry some of it on your back, you'll at least have less of a strain pulling it that way, or at least it is for my case. Because little story, I like went to a lake one day. It was raining. It was not raining. It was snowing hard, and there was like a lot of snow on the ice. I still wanted to go, you know, fish, but it was at that point where the ice was starting to become really crappy, and if you were to drill, there would be way much more water coming out from under. Especially if you were to use a shovel and dig that snow out, it's just gonna be like water just like rising. And I like pretty much like carried my shack, my heavy shack, through the snow with all the gear on there, went to a spot, drilled the hole, set it up, dug through it with all my shoveling and stuff. And when that water started to rise, I was just so mad because I was just so tired. I didn't want to deal with that, but at the same time, like, I don't want to carry this for a while. So I was going to be stuck here for a little bit until I regain my strength. So at least with this, you can at least hold on to some of that strength and not have to deal with a crappy situation like I had to. Going off of that now, speaking of personal preferences. Now, when it comes to electronics, people say, do you want to use a GPS? Do you want to use a depth finder? Do you want to use a fish finder? Do you want to use a underwater camera? Like, there's a lot of variety when it comes to ice fishing. And, like, I actually have a, I don't know, little micro Aquaview coming in the mail soon from a client that I did some work for. You know, it all comes to your personal preference. Like, do you want to see your jig? Do you want to know where you're at? Do you want to know the depth you're at, etc., etc.? But I would say for starting out, like, there's lake books you can get for free, or lake maps and stuff, and there's easier ways to like know your way around the map of a lake, because most forest preserve lakes and stuff, they will always have a map set up of where you're at and everything, and like what depth is what in what area, which is very helpful in my opinion. But there's also an app that I use a lot called Navionics. I think it's like a $15 app, but it's worth it because you can pretty much do that for any lake, and you mark down areas that you fished at, and it also pretty much counts as a GPS on its own. So if you don't want to buy like a little GPS, buy that instead, because that will be your godsend. But with depth finders, I would just say not just buy a depth finder if you're like trying to, well, okay, let me rephrase that. If you want to just like know the depths of where you're at while you're fishing, then a depth finder is going to help. But if you want to know the depth you're at while knowing if there's fish there, then you're better off having the fish finder, because you get 2 in 1 then at that point. And speaking of, like, the one that I use is a Showdown. I'm not a big fan of the circular like fish finder models. You know, there's models that are circular these days. There's some that are vertical, and there's ones that just have screens that you can choose whatever preference you want. But for me, like I like the more vertical setup because it's more easier to tell apart, in my opinion. You know, I'm just gonna turn this on and go into test mode just to give a little feel what this is. Yeah. So for test mode, it basically just shows like if your fish finder is working and whatnot, and it is. So for this, it's like you can see the bottom, you can see your jig, and you can see all the space that's in between. And that's what I like about it, because you know how far you're at, you know if there's fish there, you can see your lure. For mine that I use, you know, you got the power button, it turns on and off. You got the up and down keys, basically, just to navigate around. Sensitivity is used for this little guy right here. Let me find it. Yeah, for your transducer, which basically is what you put in the hole to you know, scout out the area. And for sensitivity, it will determine whether how much you want this thing to show on this. The less sensitivity you have, like the more movement is needed to show, or whatever's blocking its path to have it appear on the screen. More sensitivity, it'll be the opposite, obviously. And with range, basically, it just like determines like the range of depth you're in. Zoom, zooms in, basically, on whatever area you want. And then you got the noise, which will cancel out the noise that is caused by this. So, overall, I really enjoy it. It's a really fine fish finder, in my opinion. And also, like, can turn like lights on, lights off. And, you know, I got this on eBay, actually, for a couple $100, which is about the same price as the cheaper model, which is one you just, the troller unit, I believe it's called, and it's just like when you carry on by hand, it's like you put like 5 AA's in. That's what I was using. That's like my first fish finder, and it was okay, but when you're writing on AA's, you only have so much time. But yeah, when it comes to fish finders, you gotta find your own personal preference, what you think you could work with, and I kind of found mine because I like I said, I like more of a vertical view, so that's what I use. But now getting to the good stuff now. The stuff you want to see probably is like the rods, you know. And when it comes to ice fishing, there's a different variety of rods, and you know it's always nice to take note of like each one, and I pretty much have like each one on hand that I actually have used so often. So let's start with like the more lesser known classics of ice fishing, I would say, the classic rods. So this is what we're going to be showing right here. So for starters, this is your classic ice fishing rod. The ones that a lot of old timers used to use, and a lot of people used before, like people started to think, maybe I should cut my rod down a bit in size and utilize a reel. But all you had to do for these back in the day is just like pull your guide out or have one in hand like this, wrap your line around, drop it down, and lift it and pull the line up if you got a fish on. That's basically it. I like it because, you know, these things are pretty sensitive in my opinion. Like you only got like one guide, so if you got like a spring bobber or something on there, then yeah, you'll have an easier time with these. But I've actually caught panfish and catfish on these before, so they can hold up pretty well. It all just comes down to if you want to like go old school or not. And speaking of which, I also have a good variety of these, which is the Green Hornet from a la Grumpy Old Men. It's like more for nostalgia feel, because that's my favorite movie of all time, and what pretty much like got me into ice fishing to begin with. But I've found good fish on here too, and it all comes down to whether or not, you know, do you want to utilize like the old school methods and see how it works for you, or you know, go for more modern day method. And speaking of a more modern day approach, here's like a more modern day equivalent to it that a lot of tournament anglers, especially international ice anglers, use, which is a palm rod. And with the palm rod, basically what it is just like you put a spring bobber on and you put like very light line in this and you just guide it through and drop it down the line. and you're just basically like pretty much having it right at the hole, I would say. And some people like have little stands on it, so it's just like this. And basically it's just the same method, pull, get the line, and there you go. That's pretty much like the new modern day version equivalent to it. I've seen a lot of international anglers use it for tournaments, and you know, if you want to have a very light bite, this is probably the way to go. And going off of like tournament fishing and stuff, this is like the type of ice fishing rod that you would see for a lot of tournament anglers, especially like for the NAIFC, which is the National like Ice Fishing Circuit stuff. Because for school, these reels, they're called schoolie reels, and what's neat about them is that you like take your line out, and then you put in this little red marker right here, and you wrap around, and what you can see is that this will mark all the line that you're utilizing for that hole. So if you're to lose your line or whatever, you will at least know how much depth you had to utilize. So this is actually really perfect for people that are starting out ice fishing, because at least then, if you were to lose a fish or something, you can at least know how much line you used. And that's what makes it so beautiful, because when you're reeling it in, it's like, alright, like, I just gotta put all this line back, and then boom, back at it. So, you know, really great. My one downside to schoolie reels, though, is that the guides on these are really bad. So I'm on mine now with like a guide that from a broken fishing rod, and just like attached it on there, and it works pretty fine. Guides through pretty well, and I'm using like a very sensitive Frabill rod. For this rod in particular, it is a Frabill 20-inch microlight, 1 to 2 pound. Really like it a lot. It is a very sensitive tip. When it comes to ice fishing, especially if you're pan fishing stuff, always best to go as sensitive as possible. That way, when you just like feel that slight tug of the line, boom, you will know you got a fish on. But yeah, like I said, I used all of these. I caught fish on these, and you know, like it's always nice to switch it up now and then. But like the more modern day approach now is with these. These are split grip rods, and what split grip rods do is that they make more of a approach towards this method, which is you know, like the gun method, which is like you're jigging in like it's like a pistol whip position. I think actually it's called the pistol, whatever. But anyway, you're just like holding like a pistol of sorts. You're jigging, and boom, you know, you get a fish. This is more so like of a walleye rod setup. This is the Clam Dagens split handle hybrid composition. I used this a few times. Haven't gotten much out of it. Like if I'm trying to go for bigger fish, this is what I'm probably gonna be using. You know, I like it a lot, and I like the setup. It's just right now it's not doing me much for catches at the moment. This one, however, is. This is like a custom rod that I got from Chase Gaff, a Gaffite ice rod. If you want to look them up, like I highly recommend it. Dude, really made an amazing rod. I had to pay, I believe, $70 for this one. Had like a little custom camo on it, because I'm really into camo, and it looks just beautiful. And what this one does is, you know, same method, I pistol and boom, fish. It's like got a light sensitivity on there, and really good bend. Really great for panfish. I feel like the pistol grip method is really great for pan fishing, because it's just like pop, pop, pop. This is probably like one of the 3 go-to rods that I start with, basically, every time I'm on the ice. It's really beautiful. I love it a lot. And then going with like a different variety of rods as well, and like different reels. Here we have these two. This one right here is called the Tickle Stick rod, which has seen its days. You know, the cork fell off on the bottom of this, and a few of the guides on top of this broke off while ice fishing. Because the thing about this rod is that it's very sensitive, and as you can see with how small these guides are, like you think it's small now, but like I said, with the other few that broke off, it gets even smaller. And if you want like to know very sensitive bites, this is like the rod for you. I think it goes for like $50 Like I said though, when it comes to ice fishing, if you want to use like a more cheaper rod, this is probably going to be the one to utilize. Although, if you're not too familiar with inline reels, then it might be an issue. Because inline reels, like, I feel like in the past few years I've started to be more incorporated in ice fishing. And I'm still trying to get the hang of them. I kind of still prefer a spinning reel, but that's just me. But what the inline reel does is like it causes your lines to not tangle as much and not have like a weird look to them as you like unspool. But you know, it's nice. And like for this rod, I believe I had only spent like $20 or something for it. And for like for a combo reel, like a specific Cabela's like ice rod, I feel like it's worth it. You know, like go for those combos if you're just starting out and you like don't know what you're doing. Because at least then you're like, you know, getting your money's worth for 2-for-1. And if you don't like it, at least you know you can always take the reel off and use that for open water fishing or something. But going into like rods that I tend to go for the most, especially when it comes to pan fishing, I go for rods that will definitely have spring bobbers to it. And I've been saying spring bobbers this entire video. A spring bobber is basically like not like a bobber that you would think is like the round thing, but a spring bobber is like a little thing added onto the rod itself that has more sensitivity to it to know if you have a fish on or not. These things are so helpful for ice fishing, like especially pan fishing, like I said. And these two are like my go-to rods. Like I use them nonstop. The brand for these are St. Croix Legends, and I use them so often than anything. These are the ones that I've caught the giant catfish on in my video. These are the ones I caught a lot of panfish on. These are like my go-to rods for so much ice fishing. And if you have the money to spare, because St. Croix is a little expensive, I'm not going to deny that, but with these titanium bobbers that come pre-installed on there, these are amazing rods. And these will get you on good fish easily. They'll tell you the sensitivity like that. And like with these two, whew, double trouble. It's pretty much what I dead stick with, jig with, pretty much non-stop. And with spring bobbers, or if you like want to use, you know, other kind of bobbers and stuff for the ice, you can still utilize that as well. But spring bobbers, in my opinion, are the way to go. And that's my 2 cents there. So I got over like most of like the small bits of my gear, but the big one that you know ice fishermen always need to learn about is their lures and jigs, I add, as well as their bait. And these are like my go-tos for bait at the moment. Like I use a lot of live bait, but if I ever had to switch to plastics, these are the ones I utilize the most. And I'll like talk about these first. So what I use for baits, I use like some custom ones. Like these are Whack'em Stack'em baits. I like them a lot. They get the attention of good fish. I just recently started using them, and I like how they perform and the way they look in presentation and all. And they've gotten me some good sized crappie out of them. And another ones that I use is Junior's Jig Tails. And if you go to their site, they got a lot of good selection. Like here's just only a few that I use. Like the ones I tend to go for are the Goby Craws, the spiders, and the tails. Like they look beautiful, and I highly recommend them so much. Especially, like I don't have them on me because I'm like all out. But the ones I used the most were pink spiders. Like those are the ones that I use the most every ice season, and those are the ones that get the most fish. And I highly recommend them to you. These are like great plastics to have on hand, and I would say go at them. And when it comes to lures and stuff, I'm gonna like get off screen and have you like have a closer look to them. Alright, so this is like a little taste of some of the jigs that I use for the ice. Like this one, for example, is called a flutter lure. And what's neat about it is like it's a little Rapala, but what's neat is that it opens up like from the top, and basically what it does then is like it just flutters down like a little lightly. It gives like a good impression on the fish. Caught a few bass on this actually, pretty nice. Then you got like little spoons, jigs, rattle. It's like you got like a lot of variety here that I use. Like I tend to go for a more of a realistic presentation with these, and I see if they could get the attention of the fish. Another ones that I use a lot are like chubby darters. Like I go through a ton of these, especially for pike. You know, just put on a minnow on these, and just it gets the job done. Has a good impression on there. But these are like some of my go-to setups and stuff that I tend to start with for every ice season. But going off of that, we also have the ice jigs, and these are a lot, to say the least. You know, a lot of these are just really, really beautiful. You know, and a lot of them glow in the dark. A lot of them have different like colors, traits, attributes to them. But you know, some of my favorites are like the diamond tips ones, because these are the ones that I catch the most fish on my channel. And I don't know why, I don't know how, but they're just so beautiful. You know, you got the little diamond on top to catch their attention, a little bit of red to show a little bleeding, and the green and the black speckle makes them think it's like a fish or something. I've caught, no joke, so many cats, bass, pike, panfish of all kinds just on this little guy. I highly recommend them. It's a little Fiska, and I always get them at the Tinley Park Fishing Show. Like I always restock because of how much I lose them, mainly on pike. And some of the others like they have, like you see caviar jigs. These are really nice. You see some different variety. You see a lot from yourbobbersdown.com. Your Bobbers Down is a really great jig site. I highly recommend them. You get a lot of good deals on there depending on the time. I would always just check. And then some of them are custom mades that I got from buddies. Like I have one that's a Vikings jig right here, for example. You got the purple, you got the yellow, you got the white. Pretty beautiful. And the box that I use is a recent Rapala box. This thing will hold so much in there. Like I highly recommend getting it. And then on the back side, you see a lot more of my lures and spoons and stuff. Like these are some of my go-tos, and you know, and unfortunately, I kind of did some damage to this by stuffing too many in there. But you know, you kind of have to live and learn in that regard. But overall, with all my ice gear setup and stuff, like these are probably like all the stuff that I highly recommend to go with when starting, and pretty much all my go-tos. However, I also have a lot more gear in the garage that I can't really bring in the house. So let's get to those. And we're outside. So after talking about all of the gear that I have on hand that I can carry in the house, here's some of the gear that I couldn't bring in. So start things off with ice fishing. You could have either a decent hand auger, which you could get for like $40 to $50, depending on what you get. But for me personally, after a few years of just hand drilling, I got myself a power auger, and this is what I use. I use the StrikeMaster ice auger, 8-inch hole cutter, basically. I've been using it for years now. It's gas powered. Some people are not a fan of gas powered anymore, use more electric, but due to money and other stuff, like I can't go that route just yet. But I like it though. It gets the job done. When it came to those days where it's just like you wanted to hole hop and stuff like that, it kind of sucks to just drill hole after drilling hole with just hand, and you just get so tired after that. So it's just like go power auger and just get multiple holes drilled out. What I like about it is just like it gets the job done fast, it gets it all good. But one of the things I don't like about a lot of augers is how they store the blades. It's like has like a crappy strap on it and stuff. So I went to coldsnap.com and I got myself this baby. This like holds the auger so well, like you don't have to worry about the blades hitting you or anything. And what's nice is that it can come out easily. I'm so glad that it didn't hurt me. And just like that, you can easily put it back on. Boom. Snaps back on. So like that's like recommended if you want to like not deal with like the crappy auger storage situation, you know. But going off of that, there's also, like I said earlier, for ice safety is the chisel. And this baby right here, it's pretty long. They get detached right here. But what you do is just you pretty much just carry it on the ice with you, jab it at the holes, or have been recently cut, or jab at the ice, just like a little ahead of you, so you know if the ice is safe. And this baby can really save your life. Honestly, you know, because it's always hard to tell whether the ice is safe, but like a jab at it pretty much it gives like an inch or so per jab. So just jab it a few times at the ice. If it doesn't like poke through, you're pretty much golden. But yeah, I use it as like a walking stick of sorts. Just like jab it down the ice every time, check and see if it's all right. It's a must tool for fishermen. Want to stay safe, so. You know, I recommend that. Another tool that I use is Mr. Buddy Heater. You know, this thing does its job. You know, it's just supposed to keep you warm on the ice, and pretty much, you know, go through different modes and stuff. I don't know if I still have any gas in this. Oh, I do. Yeah, it's just like it starts up. You got like a little propane to put on the side, and you just set to whatever you know, way you want. And ooh, got some crap in there, but yeah, it warms up, gets its job going. I'm gonna turn this back off though. Keeps your shack all nice and cozy. And like I really like the only reason that you could use the Mr. Buddy Heater, like it's pretty much just in the shack. Like I've seen people try it outside. Maybe it's like if you just like not in a wind direction and all, but I just mainly just use it in the shack really. After that, another thing, it's like a recent purchase actually. I bought this, the Icewell Live Well. It's like a live well that you just drill a hole, put in, put your fish in, and boom, you got a live well. It's non-collapsible, which is the downside to it, but I kind of like it. It's got some good space to it. Good for putting slabs in there. So, I don't know, I'd say it's pretty nice. And then another thing, if you're like looking for slabs, for example, are these. These are fake weeds, like, or as they're called real weeds, REEL. But what they're made for is just to basically you put some weights on them, drop them down the hole next to you, and make it believe that there's some weeds in your area where a panfish will come towards. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on like how many you have set up. I've seen people who had these like have like a whole like just ring around their shack of just real weeds, and like just in their setter they just have like that empty area where a lot of like panfish would get into. I don't have that many of those. I only have a few, but you know, it's like it's one of those things that, you know, it might work, it might not. It just depends on like how much you want to spend on them. And now the pièce de résistance, my ice shack. I run a Frabill Trekker Deluxe unit. I've been running it for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. It's beautiful. I love it so much. It's pretty good size. It's not like the newer units these days where you like have like the whole cube in them, and it's like you got like more reach and range. But this baby, it's pretty big. It's a 2-man shack. And what I like about it is that it has compartments.
As you can see, it's got 2 swivel seats. Unfortunately, I kind of broke them, but they're still good. You got 2 cup holders right here, stuff to store in for your bait, as well as a rod locker, which I really, really love. Just like get some good storage in. Probably gonna mod it out, like put some insulation in there and stuff, so it's just like perfectly comfy. And then just lift up the seats, and boom, you got all your storage that you need to put in the rest of your sled. And you can like put your gloves and stuff right here, right there, and as well as like some air filtering right here. And then you got like a back door to open up. You got a window on each side of the shack. That in front right here where you you know, put your name and stuff. Yeah, but overall I love it. It's like probably one of my best purchases I ever got. I got it from a buddy actually. He wanted to get the new fish supplies unit, so I was like, "You want me to take that shack off?" He was like, "Yeah, I'll take. You can take it." I'm like, "All right." So, been using it ever since, and it's been a blessing, honestly. Probably one of my best purchases in a long while. But yeah, that's my my go-to gear. And if you're like I said earlier, if you're trying to, you know, determine whether you not want warmth or fish, you know, a shack will go you a long ways. I mean, granted, this will go for a lot of money, but you know, there's stuff like pop-up shacks that are like a couple $100 or even $100 from what I've seen. Like one-man flip overs, a lot of different variety of shacks to choose from. But I don't know. Like I said, comes down to preference. It's just what you want. But yeah, that's all the gear that I was able to show. It's like, hopefully it's like give you some like insight on like what you would need for ice fishing, what you think you could utilize, and from what I've been using. Like I said, I'm not like a pro fisherman or anything, but you know, I get the job done. I still get good fish here and there, you know. It's just a matter of like what do you want to choose. But I hope this video is informative. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up down below. If you like this video and like other fishing videos or other stuff that comes from me, subscribe to the channel and click that little bell notification for awkward stuff like this. But yeah, if you like it, give it a like. Hopefully it's all good. So until next time, guys, I'll be seeing you.